Welcome to Entry Level Moms. My name is Nasra,
I'm Suya.
and as you can see, we're sat together today because we have a guest. I would like to introduce, guys, the wonderful Farah Dualeh, and I'm low-key a little bit biased because we have a family connection, but she's written an incredible book, and we can't wait to speak. Introduce yourself, Farah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nasra. So my name is Farah. I am a published author. I'm somebody who has experienced infertility for a long time and really know there's a need to have that conversation around infertility. Finally, a mum of two beautiful children after 15 years of waiting through the adoption process. So that's me in a nutshell, and it'll be great to speak to you about it today.
Oh, I'm so excited. Before we start properly, can I just do a trigger warning? We're going to be talking about infertility. We're going to be talking about a lot of like sensitive topics. So if you would like to check out the chapters at the bottom and skip some stuff, you're more than welcome to. But inshallah, it's going to be a candid chat. So we're excited. And okay, so S,
Yeah.
where should we start?
So obviously, because I know it's a sensitive one,
Yes.
I want to let you start telling your story in however way you want to.
Yeah.
And it would make more sense to go by order. So like maybe right from the beginning when you first got married,
Yep.
what you expected from the marriage and when you wanted to have children. You can just start from the beginning and we'll go with the flow.
Brilliant. So yeah, I got married in 2009, and we decided to wait to have children for about a year or so, because you think it's going to happen when you on your clock, obviously. So about a year later, when we was ready and we sat down and we, thought about if we was ready and decided to try to conceive. Within about 3 months of not conceiving, you can imagine I was just like, what's going on? It should have happened day one. That's what we were told at school and so forth. But I wasn't necessarily worried. I was just confused. I think the first year of trying to conceive was just filled with confusion. I think for a lot of people, there's a lot of hurt, a lot of pain. Straight away, there is a lot of emotion that gets attached to this, and they don't know what's happening. But it's also like heartbreaking and fearful and all those things. I don't think that was my case.
Okay.
I was fine. It was quite exciting to be like, oh, what is this? It was just literally, what is this? I just didn't understand it. In hindsight, as an adult, I know that I've come across the topic of infertility through TV shows, through people you know. I know I did. But when you're younger and it doesn't concern you, it doesn't come on your radar.
Yeah.
So when we were experiencing it, I didn't even know what words to put it in. I didn't even know how to talk about it. I was about 24, 25 at the time. A lot of my friends were getting married at that time as well. And alhamdulillah, seemingly, it seemed easy to conceive. So there wasn't somebody else that was kind of having a similar conversation as well, if that makes sense. So we tried for a while, and with anything in life, even now with parenthood and everything like that, I think my biggest savior is proactivity. I'm somebody that can't sit on things. You know how some people might think about it for a long time and you're feeling all these emotions, but you don't take the necessary actions. I'm the opposite. I think whenever I'm confused about something or scared about something or experiencing something new, my go-to is always get the research, find out what's going on, talk to people. I talk all the time. That's why even infertility people are like, oh, you're so brave to talk about it. I'm like, oh, I just talk. It doesn't concern me. Like there's no fear around what I'm going through. I just talk to people generally. And I mention all that because I think all that was really helpful. And so one of the things I did do straight away was go to the GP within about 6 months, and they turned me away. They were like,
Really?
you're so young. You've not even been trying for a year. Go home. Because the guidelines are that if you are a couple where the female's under 35, you have to have been trying to conceive for at least a year before you can be checked and you can have tests on the NHS at least. Obviously, if you want to go private and things like that, that's fine. But if you're going to go through the GP NHS route, then you have to wait for at least a year because it's considered normal. It's not as quick as we think it is for everybody, if that makes sense, right? Because only a couple of days a month you can be, you can even conceive and all those kind of things. So it's normal. And so they tell you to come back. And so 12 months later, I did go back. My husband and I went through so many tests. There's just everything. And for a female, you can imagine it's very invasive.
Yeah.
For a male, it's a sperm analysis and you're done. For a female, it's everything. You just in there being prodded constantly. And the thing with us was that everything on paper was amazing. Highly fertile from both sides.
No way.
On paper.
Wow.
So even when, by now I've done all my research, I'm going there and I'm having the test. I'm like, refer me to IVF. Straight away I was like, refer me to IVF. And they were like, there's no need because you're so fertile. Like, you will be fine. I don't know what's happened so far, but you will be fine. And I said, no, just put me on the list. And that's what they did. They said, okay, I'm sure you'll call us soon to say cancel because, you'll be expecting, but we'll put you on the list. In reality, and I talk about all this in the book, which we can come to later on, in reality, it took 4 rounds of IVF with 0 embryos. Now, I don't know how much you know about IVF and all of that.
We've had
audience.
a guest speak on IVF.
Yeah, we've spoken to somebody who also went through, like, I think it was like 4 or 5 rounds.
Oh my God.
I think she went through 5 rounds.
It's expensive.
it's
You get your
expensive.
hopes up and then it doesn't work. Like,
I think she said she had like some eggs that were considered, or embryos that were considered strong, and then when they implanted, like, nothing happened.
Nothing's happened.
Yeah.
That is generally the most common way that that IVF fails.
Okay.
Is you get embryos. Some people it's only 2, some people it's more. You have embryos to work with.
Yeah.
Once they're implanted, you have a 2-week wait, and then it's then that the embryos didn't implant and there's a pregnancy failure at that stage. That's generally where it fails. For the majority of people, you don't fail at not creating embryo stage.
Oh, wow.
We had 0 embryos. So eggs seem really good, sperm looks really good, and they're just like, they were dumbfounded. Absolutely dumbfounded. They were like, we have no words for you because medically, scientifically, with where we're at with IVF currently, we don't know what's wrong with you. We don't understand why
so
you're
the
not
embryo
conceiving.
just wouldn't be formed.
You
They're
know,
not
it
forming.
wasn't fertilizing.
It's not fertilizing. There's 0 fertilization.
Crazy.
There's 0 embryos. It's not even abnormal embryos because sometimes you get that.
Yeah.
There's no embryos. And for me, I was, in a way, I guess, really lucky in the sense that you have a lot to work with. We always had a lot of egg retrieval. Because again, you go through the whole process of IVF, with all the injections and all the medication and being put to sleep and having the egg retrieval. And for some people, it only ends up with 1, 2, 3 eggs to work with. With me, it was always so many. It was like 12, 9, 13. Every round, we had a huge number of eggs.
That would have confused the hell out of me.
Can you imagine?
Like, what is going on?
Can you imagine? They were confused. They would get like, our case was always going to like the specialists, you know how they get like a consortium of like the biggest consultants in the country from different cities. They would use our case to say, what is going on? Because they do the next round, we need to know what's going on. And just to tell you, we've never found out. All these years later, we've never found out. The only thing that we have kind of got to is that they said the eggs don't seem to be maturing in the way that they should be maturing. But again, they don't know what the cause of that is because eggs not maturing is something that happens at a lower level. Like it's quite rare, relatively rare.
Yeah.
But even the reason behind eggs not maturing is not clear yet, again, with where we're at. So we still have no answers. Really, genuinely, we still have no answers. We're considered unexplained infertility, which is 10% of the community that have suffered with fertility. Yeah, we're still to this day unexplained. That's how it started. And then that led me to writing this book, which again is something we can talk about.
Yeah.
That's really where it began, and the journey of the fertility from the steps, from the process aspect of it, in terms of who I was as a person and who we were as a couple.
Yeah.
Again, it's something I've talked about in the past before, and for me, something that happened really early on that was amazing is that I could only say, God gave me the strength, or the idea was to say, this will not be what defines my life. This is not what defines how I operate in this world and who I am and my worth and my identity and my marriage.
Of course.
And actually, we will live a joyous life. That was a very intentional choice from the start. So I was somebody that, if you knew me personally the last whatever many years, yeah, you would know that I'm going through stuff. You would know that we've had another failed IVF. You would know that I'm taking a break because it was just too much and all those kind of
Yeah.
things. But generally, I was somebody that was also really positive and really happy and really loved life and kind of sucked all the joy from every aspect of life, and was like, even if I don't ever become a mother, I'm going to have a great life. And there's a chapter in the book that says, that talks about that, you know, if the inevitable happens where you're not destined for biological children, because we're not always, even from Islamic perspective, it's in the Quran clearly that God gives children, boys and girls, to who just girls, just boys, or zero, you know, barren, and it used the word barren in there. So I had to kind of coach myself, because I used to be a coach as well before. I've stopped now, but I was a coach for a long time, and I was doing infertility coaching for Muslim women for a long time.
Wow.
And that's the question that I had to kind of coach myself through, that what do I do if this doesn't happen for us? And what do we do as a couple if this doesn't happen for us? And so we kind of outlined that joy was always going to be the top of it, and that we would create opportunities and circumstances to have the life that we want, regardless of what our body is doing. And that's literally what we did in the end.
That sounds so
Yeah.
beautiful. I have a question.
Go for it.
Obviously, like, you and your husband, it's happening to you, right? And it's easy for you guys to work it out within yourselves and make this life for yourself. But there's always like family input. There's always like mother-in-law input. There's always like your mother and your parents, and you know, like there's always like aunties that come along and comment and have all this like
Pressure.
like you could be solid with your partner and you could be perfectly fine, and then someone will come along and say something that will make like a problem there. Like, how have you, because I know for a fact you've experienced that, because we're Somali.
Yeah.
There's
We're
for
ethnics,
a fact.
yeah.
I've got
It's
2 kids.
1000%.
And it's still, where's the third?
I've got 2 kids and people are like,
Where's the third?
what are you waiting for? Where's the third?
1000%. I don't even have to ask you, have you experienced
of course.
that? I know
we
you have.
Yeah.
How has that, like, how have you dealt with that going forward?
How
Because
did you navigate
there's
that?
only so many, like, inshallah, when Allah wills, that you can do before it starts to...
Yeah. Grain on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a beautiful question. And to be honest, I think for the couples and the women, Muslim, all the black, brown women like in the world, I think, and most societies, to be honest with you, I think that is one of the hardest parts of the journey.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you can kind of be in a good mood, you go somewhere and it's like, what's going on? And they're staring at your stomach and all of that stuff. So I understand. I know that's a big trigger and just a horrible part of the journey. For us, for me, I think that I refuse to allow the noise to get to me. Like, genuinely. Of course you're human. There could be a day where there's something and it triggers you a little bit and you feel something. But in terms of actually impacting my life, I did the work. So I'm very big on therapy. So again, I'm very happy to talk about that. I've done therapy a lot for infertility. We did it again before we did the adoption. I'm so pro therapy. So whether it's through therapy, whether it's through self-coaching, whether it's getting a coach, whether it's whatever it is, whether it's just your character as well, because people are very different.
Yeah.
I refused. I genuinely refused. And I'm somebody that, okay, I don't want this to sound very arrogant, but sometimes I also look at the people that are saying it. And I'm very much like, because that's still happening, by the way, even with adoption. We'll talk about that again later on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because in certain communities, it's not really recognised. Like, you still have kids, so they're still making dua for you to have kids whilst you're holding your kids' hands, but we'll get into that. So I know it sounds horrible, but sometimes I do look at the people that are saying it and I think, yeah, I sometimes don't respect or care enough about their life decisions for you to impact my life choices or my life challenges or my life. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That's one aspect of it. And 2, I really did try and ground myself in faith and know that, like, one of the things I mentioned again, I've talked about this before, is when I first started to struggle, I actually got excited. And that sounds really bizarre. And I don't know where it came from. But genuinely, I called my cousin and I was talking to my cousin about it. And I'm like, this is so exciting. She's like, what do you mean? And I was like, because what does Allah want from me then? Because, if you're supposed to be a wife and a mother, because obviously that's just, you don't even think about it, that's just the consensus, right? And then if that's not what's happening, what does he want from me? Like, it opened up like a whole new world of like, I'm so excited to see what God does with my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So because I was really excited by God's plan And I was so firm with my own self-worth and self-love and identity and all of those things. It became really hard to shake me. And to this day, that's the case. And I'm grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's not something that I can create for myself, really. As much it is me that's fighting for that, I know it's a gift from Allah.
It's definitely a gift.
Does that make
That
sense?
touched my heart.
That's beautiful,
That
because
touched my heart.
in that moment when you said you were excited, that was
Yeah.
probably you trusting. It's tawakkul, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like you
100%.
trusting Allah's plan.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what helped you go through
Absolutely.
this.
Is knowing
How long? 13 years?
15.
15 years
Yeah,
of
our
infertility.
son, yeah.
And while you were able to stay grounded and strong and still find happiness.
Yeah.
You know, there's another
know?
reason for this as well, because Allah used you to help others.
That's it.
Because imagine if you never went through this,
Exactly.
and there's all these people that have benefited from your book, from your coaching, from your, like, even just speaking to people who are struggling.
Yeah.
Imagine how many people have benefited from that.
Yeah. Like, I'm not even active on social media anymore, and I cannot tell you the amount of like emails and messages that I get to this day where people have gone out of their way to find me, because I'm not that active on social media to find me easily.
Yeah.
Where they send me these messages of where they are with their journey and the choices that they're making and how much this book's helped them, or they saw something somewhere that I said on YouTube or something in the past, and I'm like, yeah, exactly what you said. I'm like, yeah, this is what it's about. This is what it was for. And I always say that any test that we have, whether it's mental health, whether it's fertility, whether it's losing a loved one, whatever it is, I always say it's actually not the thing that's happening. It's our response. It's our perspective. It's how we then live through it. That's the actual test.
Yeah.
It's not the thing, because none of this actually matters in the end.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we came here for a purpose. We were created to worship him when we
Yeah.
return to him. All of this other stuff is just things that will help you get to him in a good situation or take you away from getting to him in a good situation. And so it actually doesn't matter. Like, all of that is just extras. It's our understanding of what's happening.
Yeah.
That's the actual test. And that's why I cry for a lot of my sisters in the community, because it's not about faith or weak men or anything. Everybody deals with things differently. And there's so many sisters that say, no, I don't get it. I don't understand. This is too painful. I don't understand it. I don't want to be in this marriage. I don't want to see my in-laws. I don't want to see this person. I don't want to live. Like, genuinely, when I was in coaching, I had to stop because it became too much. Because the sisters' ideas of self-worth and the fact that they failed and that their bodies have failed and they failed their husbands. And sometimes when it came, and infertility is nobody's fault, but sometimes it'd be a male issue.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's because it's 50, in terms of breaking down fertility, because people always think it's a female issue,
You
right?
always think it's a
But
female.
actually it's 50-50. So 50% is a male issue and 50% is female issue in terms of the numbers.
Wow.
Right? So it's not something that's more prone to females. It's not.
See, but the women always get
We put
blamed,
it on-
don't
yeah,
they?
because
Blamed,
women
though.
Women always get
obviously we
blamed.
carry the child.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard about a man leaving his wife because she wasn't conceiving, right? She wasn't getting pregnant.
Yeah.
He stayed with her for a few years. He left, decided to marry someone else, still struggled.
Right?
He still
So
struggled,
many.
and she moved on to have kids.
So common.
Because I was
So
also
common.
going to say, the same way Allah is testing you for something, Allah could give you everything that you wanted. If you're being tested with, like, for example, money, Allah could make you a millionaire tomorrow.
He can.
But Allah wants to see how you behave as a poor person.
That's it.
Do you know what I mean?
There's a
It's
bigger picture to
definitely a bigger picture to
Exactly,
it. Because you're right,
exactly.
it is the reaction.
It
I've
is.
seen things happen to people, and I remember when I was a very small child, the one thing that just gets ingrained in your brain. Never say, why me? And you're saying to Allah, why did you do this to me? Because why not you?
Yeah.
That
And that's
was
a
the
clear
question.
sign
Why
that
not
you are
you?
unhappy. You are saying to Allah, you're doing something wrong. God forbid. You're saying you're doing something wrong and I don't understand what you're doing, and change it. That's essentially what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying, I don't trust what you're doing for me.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, why not me? And how do you know that this is the thing that was supposed to get you into Jannah? Because that's the whole reason for this.
You know, when you mentioned that big doctors and consultants didn't have an answer, oh my God, that for me was like, I was just like, okay, if science couldn't even figure this out,
Yeah.
I would have went home and thought to myself, okay, so clearly Allah knows.
Yeah.
But it also makes you ponder, like, there's a lot of things in your life that will happen that you will
Yeah.
never get the answers for,
100%.
right? But that's part of your story.
Yes.
And I feel like there's a reason it happened to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how strong you were throughout this journey.
Mm.
Even the way you're talking now,
Yeah.
how you're so grounded and you're so grateful still, and you're so
So
humble. All of that leads to this and this book,
Yeah.
and the fact that you've helped all these women.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
And I'm
was
so
what Allah
grateful.
was seeing for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that he's designed my family now, in the terms that the children I did go on to have, in terms
Okay.
of not biologically carrying.
Let's get into that.
Let's do
Tell us,
it.
how did you, where were we? We were at, you got married.
The IVFs. We got to the IVFs, didn't we?
IVFs.
Yes.
So after the IVFs, at what point did you,
It left.
You know what? Yesterday we had a studio session and I kept like stuttering. I kept going and I was glitching. And I looked at Samia and I was like, "What's wrong with me today?" And it's starting to
It's
happen
happening
again.
We're all with you. If
Oh
you're
my
glitching, we're
God.
glitching.
Okay. So yeah, we got to IVF, and then at what point did you think, okay, maybe let's switch routes?
Yeah. Okay. So for us, it was actually very early on.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happened is that with adoption, I don't think it's common in our communities, or adoption looks very different in our communities, as in we all look after, or for me, for example, my auntie and uncle raised me rather than my parents and things like that. So we have that kind of thing. But as in formal adoption, I don't think it's as common in our communities.
No.
And so when I was younger, I had a friend that was adopted, but I didn't think about it. But what happened is, as soon as this happened, it opens up doors, right? If you are questioning, so if you are caught up in the emotional aspect of it,
Yeah.
it will imprison you.
Wow.
But that thing about proactivity, like I was talking about, we went into just researching and talking. And again, that's one of the things that is really important in terms of spouses is you can't be suffering alone with this. You can't. He's going through what he's worried about. You have to really force yourself to come as a team.
Yeah.
You have to make your marriage as strong as it can be, and you have to create that friendship and that openness. And sometimes, because some of those conversations are going to be really hard sometimes, right? Sometimes the best route will be maybe to separate, for example.
Yeah.
But you need to have the what's the word? The strength to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because only through talking about it do you then see what's possible.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Communication is so
Communication is so important, despite how ugly it can be sometimes,
Yeah.
right? And so my husband and I talked a lot at the start when we were just trying to figure out, and we're doing the testing, and we've been referred to IVF and stuff like that. And then we just started to think about all the different ways that you could become a parent, not even just in a very casual way. And then adoption popped up for us. And then we started talking about it. And then we started researching a little bit. And then we got excited by it. And then we were like, do you know what? Now that our eyes have been open to this way of being parents, we said we want to adopt no matter what. So we thought we'd have our biological children. Because remember, we're being told, you're going to conceive tomorrow. You're going to conceive tomorrow. Don't worry. So we thought we'd have our, biological children that we were planning to have and trying to have.
Wow.
But then also we were like, but we also want to adopt. And then we just put that in our pocket and, just put it to the back of your mind. So straight away, that became an option of, that's an option for us. Because we talked about all the different things that, again, there's a whole chapter in the book. It's 3 sections the book is divided to. And at the end, it talks about the different family, all the different options open to you when you catch yourself in this kind of situation. And so some of those options, we were like, yeah, not for us. And then some of them we were like, that could work for us.
Yeah.
Adoption was one of those things. But we still wanted to but we still wanted to do this because we still thought I would have biological children. So we were like, let's get the biological children out of the way and then we'll go through the adoption route potentially, right?
So you still had you both had hope still that you would still be able to...
hope, it was almost definitely going to happen. Because remember, we're being told that.
Oh, you're being told as well that there's nothing wrong
There's
with
nothing
your
wrong with
egg
you
or
in the
your
early
sperm.
stages.
They're
I'm
both
talking
fertile.
about.
Yeah.
Remember,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
so
Yeah.
fertile. There's nothing, and we were really young. So again, because I don't really sit on things, I referred myself to psychology, to IVF, in my mid-20s.
Wow.
That's really young for IVF. Like, we were in IVF clinics with most people that are my age now, 40
Wow.
plus. You were a very, very young couple at that time. So it was like you've got time on your side. You've got health, seemingly, on your side.
Yeah.
You've got genetics, because, again, they look at that sometimes. And my mum and dad have both passed away, rahmah to both of them. But my mum and dad had 15 children,
Wow.
subhanallah. So, could all conceive natural in the, in the nomadic places of Somaliland. So, they tell you everything on paper is going to work out. And so we didn't have any doubt that we'd get pregnant. We were just confused why it's been delayed, but it's going to happen. So the adoption was like, oh yeah, okay, one day we're going to do that as well. And then we did 3 rounds of IVF, and by now it's like maybe 31, 30, something like that. And I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I'm done. I tap out.
With IVF, there's a lot of like injecting, isn't there?
Oh,
It's crazy.
hormones. So by now, so we had 3 rounds of IVF. Grueling process. Okay, I say grueling in the sense that I found the first 2 rounds of IVF relatively easy.
Okay.
In the sense that, because I was reading a lot about it, and people were really emotional talking about it. I don't know, again, when you're young, you're really ignorant anyway about life.
Yeah.
So I could have been an element of that as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was really confident that we're going to have kids anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I did find it relatively easy. It's really painful, like the injections, all of the... There's so much happening with your hormones, because essentially what's happening with IVF is that in order for you to get a lot of eggs, to be able to create a lot of embryos, they are creating a way. So obviously when we menstruate, you release an egg a month, right?
Yeah.
With this, you're gonna, so for example, I said 12. So that you're getting 12 eggs. That's a year's worth of a natural cycle's eggs
in 1 month.
created within a few weeks.
Oh my God.
The hormones must have been on overdrive.
Right?
Oh, through the roof.
It's really, really, and you get bloated, and it starts to become really painful because, again, the injections in the same places and things like that. And then on top of that, remember, you're going to the clinic like every other day because they need to see what's happening and how things are changing hormonally and what's growing and what's not, what's happening with the eggs and all that stuff. And you're trying to live life and have a job with all of that and stuff like
my
that. So
God.
there is a lot of pressure. And then at the end of it is that they put you to sleep so that they can retrieve the eggs. And then they will call you the next day to let you know how many have fertilized and how many embryos you have and the quality of those embryos.
That must have been daunting as hell.
Daunting as hell.
Because you're thinking, it's kind of like, that feeling you get when you get results back from
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
whether it's exams, health checks,
yeah,
whatever, blood
yeah,
tests.
yeah.
Just that feeling of like you're expecting your results and it's either going to be good or bad.
That's it.
Imagine doing that all the time with IVF and seeing if the embryos like...
Exactly.
Bro, that's
and
a lot.
and
So
then
you've
to
just
be
gone through all of those injections and your
Exactly.
hormones are still crazy.
and then to be kicked in the teeth to us where they're like, I'm so sorry to say you have no embryos. Because like I told you, for other people, you would have gone down a few more steps. It's like, oh, we have 3 embryos. And then they schedule you in like day 5 or something to have the implant. And then you have the 2-week wait. But every single time, the first 3 times, the 4th time was a bit different. But the first 3 times it was like, yeah, you have 0 embryos.
And
This is
not
the
to
end of the
mention
line.
You paid for all of this.
Say that again?
And then on top
You
of that,
pay.
you've paid for all of this.
Well, we're actually really blessed in the UK. So we had 3 rounds of IVF on the NHS.
Oh,
We only paid for the
wow.
4th one.
Wow.
It depends where you live. So that's another thing about IVF and fertility
I
and
remember
stuff like
Sharia
that.
was saying this, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They call it postcode
Postcode
lottery.
is mad.
It really depends what your local CCG or whatever they call it these days. You are funded either for 1, 2, or 3.
Wow.
You have to be obviously in the right age group, the right BMI group.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the right. You can't have. So, for example, I know a couple where the male, the dad, had a biological daughter from a previous marriage, but so they're not eligible because he's had a biological child. They're not eligible.
How can
Oh,
you
so
not be
both-
eligible because he has a child? What if in life
As a
things
couple,
changes?
No, you can't. Yeah, on the NHS you can't. The criteria is that you don't have any, but neither of you have any biological children. You are below a certain age for females. You are
Below a certain weight.
below a certain weight.
Wow.
And yeah, all those things. And then on top of that, it depends where you live. So some people get 1, 2, or 3. We were really blessed. We got 3.
Not them.
Yeah.
Not them blaming everything on your overweight. And they
They
just
always
every
do.
day, oh, I've hurt my leg. Yeah, your BMI is quite high.
But by the way, you know, adoption's the
Thanks.
same.
Huh?
What? What?
You can't adopt because you're
You're
fat.
too fat.
What?
What? It's the same.
No, you're joking.
And you know the BMI. I always say the BMI for these European countries are not built for us anyway. We're always over the BMI. Like, do you get what I mean? Because I feel like the people that were tested to get these healthy BMIs are not like the African bodies and that.
Yeah,
They're
it's
not.
not,
It's not built. It's not
It
for
doesn't
me.
make
I'm always
sense.
over the BMI. I'm
Yeah.
like, don't tell me I'm overweight because I'm not. Don't, by your standards, don't tell me I'm overweight.
I'm telling you, when I go to the doctors, they tell me I'm overweight.
You're constantly over your BMI, right?
Let me make you laugh.
For my height, I'm
Right
overweight.
now, forget overweight. Right now, currently where we're standing, I'm morbidly obese.
Of course, they're always
I'm
going to.
currently morbidly obese.
We're all always the case. So I don't take it too serious.
When
but
I see someone who's actually morbidly obese, I'm
You're
like,
like, no,
"Bruh,
that's
I'm not
it."
like you, bruv. Nah, we're not the same.
You're not the same.
you're
not the
nowhere near
same.
it. You're nowhere near it. Your
What?
body wasn't intended for this measurement. It
Crazy.
wasn't. So So it was all of that, and we were really lucky that we got 3 rounds
Oh,
of IVF out of
wow.
it. And then after those 3, I stopped because I was just like, I physically, because you have like a few months gap between each.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
You did all 3 of them in
I
1
did
year?
all about a year and a half.
Oh my God.
About a year and a half,
Because
I'd
I was
say.
going to ask that next.
3
How
back
many
to
years
back.
did it take? Like, I thought maybe it was like 1 a year.
Yeah, no.
Whoa.
So it's like they wait for, I think, 1 cycle, and then by your second, I don't even remember. I feel
How
like
did you hold down a job during that?
I was really blessed. Again, it helps to be gobby because I
Mm.
tell my managers, well, hi, I'm going for my another round. And they're like, yeah, okay. So, but some people are trying to hide it, who, where this is quite a personal thing and you don't have to share it, but you kind of do to be able to get the support that you need.
No, that's so true.
Do you get what I
though.
mean?
That's so true.
So I was always really blessed. In the third one, I think I changed jobs and I was in my probation period.
Oh God.
So that third one is the one
Yeah.
that I found the most. That's why I said the first 2, I was like easy breezy. My manager was like, "Oh, do you need a day off?" And you've just had it. It was just so nice and so easy and so chilled. And then I wasn't taking it too serious. And yeah, there was a bit of pain with the injections. Hormonally, I felt okay. Third one, everything again, because remember it's the third one in like a short period of time. So my body's probably not recovered from the previous, and now we've pumped more into it. And remember, they're changing protocols. So with the IVF, they're testing things and then changing things based on the results of last time. They're just kind of like a guinea pig. They're trying different things. So
Trial
they're
and
going for
testing's
stronger medication, stronger this, a longer protocol, everything is just heightened and increased and made more difficult. And like I said, I was in my probation period and I didn't want to tell them because I don't know these people. I'm new to the organization. And I actually remember, funnily enough, HR, because the appointments that you have, you can't pre-warn anyone. You get a text that evening sometimes. It depends what they saw today, for example. You went for a scan. Depending on what was going on today, we will tell you when you next need to come in. It's not like, 2 weeks' time. It's not. Everything's done within a short period of time. So I kept going to have appointments. And I remember the HR manager actually saying, you have to tell us, like, what's going on. I said, I've got a medical issue and I need to go to the... I can't remember I said medical issue, but I'm guessing I would have. And they were like, what is it? What is it? And I think that HR, that lady, actually tried to kind of like threaten me a little bit, try and say like, you're not going to get through probation unless we know what's going on. And I said, do what you got to do.
She held you at gunpoint.
Yeah,
and
I said, do what you got to do. Do it. And I still passed my probation. I still, but I was like, do what you got to do because I just didn't I didn't want to divulge that much into these people that I genuinely just met like 6 weeks ago. And I didn't know what's going on. I was trying to figure out. Anyway, so that one was really, really grueling, like you said, because this came about holding down a job and stuff. That one I found really hard. And then we decided to have a break. My husband and I talked about it and we said, let's have a break because this is, like for me, by now, everything was starting to catch up with each other, if that makes sense. Yeah. The reality of what's happening, the harrowing experience of fertility, IVF, dealing with everything, trying to process. I think that everything all at once just went boom on me. And I was like, if I go through this again or I keep doing this to myself, I'm not going to survive it. So we need to stop. The other thing that I want to add with IVF rounds is sometimes you hear people say, I've had like a certain number of IVF rounds. All of it's really challenging. A lot of times, so somebody will say like, I've had, 7 rounds. They've had 7 rounds of IVF, but it's very different. Because what happens is they get embryos from the first round. The other rounds, quite often, are from the frozen embryos.
Oh,
so
from
you've
the
skipped.
implantation.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're just trying to make one stick.
No, so what would have happened is they had a round of IVF.
Yeah.
Let's say they got 6 embryos.
Okay.
They would have put one back. Generally, they try and put only one back, sometimes 2. Because that's the other thing, people think they just shove loads in there in case you have twins and this. They don't do that. So you're only allowed, guidelines are 1, potentially 2. Again, depending on your age and your health and all that stuff. And then you have, say, 4 embryos left, right? So let's say that one that they planted, or those 2 that they planted didn't stick, it failed.
Yeah.
What'll happen is a few months later, you might do another round, but you've skipped all this. All that's going to happen is you've gone to the implanting phase again.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
there's no
yes,
injections,
yes.
there's no sleeping,
That
there's
makes
no.
sense.
Does
Because
that
they've
make
got
sense?
the embryos
Because
there.
it's called a fresh IVF round or a frozen
Yeah.
IVF
But they
round.
class it as another round.
And they class it as another round. So sometimes you
Okay.
will hear people say, "I've had this many
And
IVF
then
rounds."
7 rounds to go through what you went through for
That's
those
it.
3 rounds sounds mad.
And that's the reason why I mention it, because it's a very different experience. And I'm not trying to undermine other people's experience, because there's people that go, it's just a failure in the whole process and all that's really difficult. But in terms of physically what's happening, they're very different in my opinion.
You didn't even get to the embryo
So
stage.
for me, it's starting fresh
Yeah.
every single time. It's the
Yeah.
injections, it's the whole, it's all of that again and again and again and again. It's so hard. So yeah, that's when I said I need a break.
Wow.
So we took a 4-year break.
Wow.
Probably 5, because the lockdown made it 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it ended up being like 5 years. And in that time, I'm living my life. We're traveling, we're working, we're starting businesses, we're doing whatever we're doing. And that's when I wrote the book as well. Because again, the book, similar to adoption, the book was always a one day. It was like, I'm definitely, because like we said, what is God wanting me to do? What is needed? What is happening? I saw that a lot of people in my situation weren't willing to talk about it, which I completely understand. But then it was like, where is the support for each other now? And I just thought, if I don't have the fear and the shame and all these things that's associated with it, if I'm not experiencing that, then I'll do it. Does that make sense?
And I love that you're doing it, because I feel like as Somalis, a lot of things are taboo.
Everything's taboo.
And when it comes to situations like this where you
Yeah.
cannot have kids,
Yes.
usually people just, they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
They
No.
don't.
No.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it. Especially the pressure you get from like aunties and where's the kid? How come you're not pregnant yet? Blah, 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 blah. Some of them, I wouldn't even be surprised if someone said to you, your husband should go somewhere else and
Of
find a younger wife
course,
who
of
can.
course.
I'm pretty
that
sure
one
you've
you
got
definitely.
Of course you
we
would.
know for certain.
Right?
We don't even have to ask.
Oh, he's a hero for staying with me.
Oh.
It's like, you don't. What if he can have kids? I mean, that's not the case. But I'm saying you don't
Yeah,
know. You
that's
don't know.
crazy that
How do you
people-
just assume? And even if I couldn't have kids, even if it was me, don't project your self-worth on me. Because I'm like, alhamdulillah, he got a good thing and he knows it and he's staying. Khalas. Do you know what I mean? But to them, it's like, oh, he's such a good man.
Poor guy kind of
Oh,
thing.
he's so good. Why is he so good? Like, you know.
No, but it's because I
For
think
him.
they've put the whole of the topic of marriage down
Around
to
that.
what you can produce for
Yeah,
him
yeah.
as
Right.
an offspring.
Yeah, that's exactly
And I
it.
find that so mad because an actual marriage is not just about number one circumstances, money. Like it's about your two people's commitment to each other,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And two people's love and two people's their choice to be here every day and show
That's
up
it, that's
and
it.
be with this person.
That's it.
Because you could easily say, I don't want to do this anymore. Deuces,
Of
divorce,
course,
goodbye.
of course.
Right? Like I did.
Mhm.
I left. I said, Masalama, I can't do this anymore. Deuces.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
But if you consistently show up every day, it's not because of your surroundings. It's not because of what you have. It's because you want this person
That's it.
and they want you. And you can go through storms.
Together.
But people are not,
100%.
they're not,
They're not
I feel like
willing.
they've reduced the whole concept of marriage and the whole like spouse and everything just down to conceiving a child.
That's it.
Right. And I
That's
find it disrespectful towards your marriage.
So
So
disrespectful.
disrespectful.
So disrespectful,
So
to-
disrespectful.
towards your
Bro.
union, because despite all of this, you guys still stuck together,
Yeah.
and you went through this storm
Yeah.
together, right? And you're still together,
Yeah.
right?
So disrespectful.
For them to say that kind of like disregards your whole marriage. Like, what's the
Yeah,
point of
yeah,
being married
yeah.
if you're not giving them
Invalidates it.
kids?
Like-
do you get it?
That's one of my biggest like peeves is that I resent our culture, as in like, again, not just Somalis but a lot of cultures
Mm.
where marriage is just reduced to a means to having a child
Yeah.
and to look good in society because my daughter's married and things like that. But actually, it's not about the marriage, and it's not about having a good marriage. And how many people do we know that have endless numbers of children, but their marriages are horrible,
Yes.
horrible, and I
Yes,
don't
yes.
want that for all the kids in the world.
Exactly.
You know. So, and a marriage in itself, and a good marriage in itself, is a protection and a blessing, and is a gift in itself, you know. And it came before any children that were coming or not coming, you know.
Exactly.
So fight for your marriage and respect your marriage and work on your marriage and separate it. Separate it. Again, there's something that I say in the book where I say separate yourself, your marriage, and trying to conceive. Those three things become so blurred, as does being pregnant and all those things. Separate them. You are you enough, all of those things on your own, with or without a husband, with or without a child, all those things. And then the marriage in itself is a beautiful, important thing by itself.
Commitment. Yeah.
Right? And then the children are an amazing, you know, all those kind of things as well.
Yeah.
So you have to, this journey and this test in particular will eat you alive because of the outsider, like you said, because of the external forces. I do think you will get drowned in it if you allow it.
Yeah.
Because there's just too many opinions. There's, you know, like we said, there's so much. There's so
going to
much.
like a family function,
Absolute
and this
cheek.
aunt over here has said, "Oh, it's because you need Quran Sar," and that other aunt has turned around and said, "Oh, it's because you're overweight," and that other aunt has turned around and said, "Oh, try this herbal medicine, you will conceive." And there's another aunt over here that said, "Oh, actually, maybe check your husband." There's another aunt over there thinking, "Oh, you know what? Actually, I have a daughter. Why don't your husband come and impregnate my daughter, and then you can have a
100%.
kid like that?" Oh my! I would literally. I think I would cuss everyone.
You have
I
all
would
of
cuss
that.
everybody and their mum.
Do you know
I think I
one
would go
thing,
into
though?
hiding. I wouldn't even put myself in that position for them to do
Swear.
it. I would just be anti because I know what's coming.
I
If
know
I
it.
see these aunties, I know what's coming.
Do you know what it is? There's two things. I feel like there's two ways. So I've seen people that say nothing. So you
Wow.
know the situation. There's probably fertility issues.
Yeah.
But they say nothing to their parents, to their friends. Like I have people like that in my life currently.
Yeah.
They say nothing. I respect it in the way that they've closed that door so hard that it's really hard to say anything in the
Yeah.
sense of even the parents don't know what to say because they can't say, oh, you should leave him, he should leave. They can't say anything because they don't know anything.
They don't know
Yeah.
nothing.
They can have comments about, oh, where's the child? Yeah, that's normal, like you said, for everybody.
Yeah,
Where's the
yeah.
first, where's the second? We're going to keep going. But in terms of you've taken away every power because you've said nothing.
Wow.
I like that approach. It wouldn't work for me because I think you then are so lonely.
I would feel so lonely as well.
I would go crazy. It doesn't
Same.
operate
No,
for
I
my
have to say
I
personality
feel like
type.
me and you were similar in that sense because I would lose it. Like I would be
Right.
so lonely. What is kabuqaya? I would literally,
Kabuqaya.
I'll be in my own head constantly. I'll overthink and I'll lose my mind.
It's
for
too
real.
hard. It's too hard.
Way too
It's
hard.
too hard. But the other side, if you flip it, that's really empowering as well, is the approach where I've taken, where I say so much that they can't say nothing in a weird way because they're like, don't say anything about marriage. She loves her marriage. Don't you get what I mean? Don't say anything about her.
You've owned the whole
I've
narrative.
owned it. So I've taken
yeah.
all their power away again.
facts.
Do you get what I mean?
Absolute facts.
So it's like, it's the middle bit, I think.
Yeah.
It's the people who, you know, there's something, they say it, but they got shame attached to it, but they're scared to address it. And they get, oh, that's a hard, that
They
group,
haven't
which is the
worked it out
majority,
in their own head.
you
You
have to
haven't
work
made
it
a
out.
decision in your own brain of how you're going to deal with,
That's it.
with other people's opinions.
That's it.
And also, I feel like if you're naturally somebody who's like, I don't care about everyone's opinions. I'm going to do this. If I want to do this, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
If I don't want to do that, nobody can make me.
Yeah.
It's easier to set that
Of course it
boundary
is. Of course
and
it
to
is.
say so much that they now have nothing
Of
to,
course it
to
is.
add,
Of
right?
course it is.
But if you're naturally like more quiet and you don't really want to, maybe it's upsetting you to even talk about it. It's going to get to you when people come along with their
100%.
opinions. And everybody has an opinion.
I know so many people that have avoided family weddings,
Oh.
baby showers, pregnancy.
I'm sure
I
that can be a trigger though. Baby
yeah, of
showers.
course.
I
Oh,
mean, it's
yeah,
not a
baby
joke.
showers are horrid. Of course, I get it.
Yeah.
I know people where they're really struggling to see their own sisters, like biological sisters, because they're really struggling themselves, and they always have that thing of like, I'm not wanting anything to be taken away from her, but it's too hard. It's just too hard. Whereas thankfully, that was never my experience.
Yeah.
It really genuinely was not, because I was always about, that's not my child though. Do you get it? Like, you're expecting, but that's not my child. Like,
Yeah, I
your
hear
child's
it.
not my child. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah,
Like,
I
That
hear
makes
you
it.
didn't take
complete
anything
sense
away.
to me.
You have to be very rational.
People are having babies every day.
Every
Right?
day.
Do you know what I mean?
It is
That
what it's.
kind of thing.
Celebrities. I always say celebrities. The only people that
Yeah.
did wind me up very randomly, the only time that I was triggered by a pregnancy is like celebrities that I deem to be like whatever. And I'm like, what, her? No. Like, stuff, but that's the only time that there are certain celebrities that I consider trash or whatever. And like, just me. And I'm like, oh, I just roll my eye like, oh, subhanAllah, Allah's got a plan. I'm just going to keep it moving.
Yeah.
But people that I love and respect, and no,
No, I agree.
it wasn't, it's not something, you know. But yeah, it's just a journey.
Two things can be true at the same time, right? You can be sad
Yeah.
that your journey isn't like that, but
Yeah.
also you can be really happy for someone else.
Yeah.
I think
100%.
And
two
I think
things
for
can
the,
be true at the
I
same
think the
time.
majority of people, it's exactly that. Yeah, they're
they
struggling.
struggle with
They're
that
struggling.
balance.
Yeah.
Because it is a balance.
Yeah, it is. It is a balance. It is a balance.
I wanted to
Oh,
ask, because you
yeah.
said naturally you wanted to talk about it.
Yes.
I want to talk about your village,
Mm.
your friends, maybe cousins or
Mm.
siblings if you have sisters.
She says she has
How
14
did-
siblings,
Oh yeah,
bro.
14, yeah.
But-
I want to know how many sisters and you know
But
what
do
I
you know
mean?
what? None of them are here. So
Oh.
You're
yeah,
joking.
yeah. I only have one brother
They're
here.
spread across the world.
Damn.
They're actually back home.
Oh.
Yeah, they're all
Wow.
back home. But yeah, I'll let you continue your
So
village.
I just want to, because you know there's two sides of the coin in it. There's people who would just keep it quiet,
Yes.
and you're the opposite. You were speaking about it to people.
Mhm.
In terms of like friends and like family, how did they take it, and how did you navigate those conversations and talk about what you were going through?
So I've been so blessed. I'm so grateful for my village, as you put it. And again, they can only show up because I've allowed them to show up. I've shared freely, and therefore you can then help. And I've also not been shy about how they can help.
Yeah.
When I've needed it. So we were talking about siblings. So for me, my immediate family is not in the country. I have one brother here. Rest of my family's back home. My parents have passed away, Allah rahmah. But I have a massive extended family. So I have cousins and all of that stuff. I also have the most incredible in-laws, the most blessed. I have the most incredible friends and colleagues. You know how your colleagues become your family and your best friends at the same time as well. And so with all of those people, they've been incredible because they've gone through it as I've gone through it. Does that make sense? So when it was the first 3 months and I'm like, what's happening? I'm not pregnant. I don't get it. They were like, oh yeah, we don't get it. Because I'm talking to them as we speak. Or try this pregnancy test or, whatever it is. And then as time goes on, I'm like, oh, I'm actually a bit stressed now. We're starting IVF tomorrow and da-da-da-da-da. Funnily enough, one of my sister-in-laws was the first, just the way circumstances happen, did my first ever IVF injection for me.
Wow.
Just the way I was at the house that day and just the way it worked out.
Yeah.
But again, if you're hiding at something, I would have had to go to the back. And I can't, all those rounds I've never injected myself because I just, I don't mind needles, like if somebody's doing it, but I can't do it myself. I was never able, I can't.
It's weird when you're doing it to yourself.
To yourself, I
Yeah.
can't penetrate the skin. It just didn't happen for me. But there's so
Yeah.
many women that do it by themselves. And I'm like, respect to you because I can't. So again, that's that thing of like, how would I have been able to deal with that if I'm not sharing it?
Of course.
One time I was away for work conference and again, a colleague had to do it for me because it has to be done at a specific time every time. So you kind of have to just either do it yourself, like we were saying, and just carry everything on your own and struggle through trying to inject yourself when you know you can't, or let people in and share it. And so it's been really incredible. My friends have always been really helpful. At every stage we've been at, we've had a community behind us and supporting us and been so happy for us and been so sad for us. And one of my closest friends, it was so funny, I'll share this story. One of my close friends, I love her dearly. And funnily enough, I've known her not the longest, probably about 8 years or something now. And she got pregnant with, we always call him the oops baby, bless him, because she had her kids, thought she was all done, and then she had an accidental pregnancy. And I was going through, I think we were in a break, but there was a lot going on emotionally. I think I was doing the therapy aspect of it, and certain things were going on. And she was finding the pregnancy so hard because she's a Muslim and she's from our community, but she really she thought she was done. She was free. She was like, I'm nearly out of the school gates. Her kids were older. She really found it hard. And she would break down to me every single day. And she trusted me enough not to feel like I can't talk to Farah about this because she wants a baby so badly. But she knew that she could cry about not wanting to be pregnant, but she was, whilst I was crying. Does that make sense?
Wow.
Yeah.
And it bonded
That's
us
mad.
so much because we both just trusted each other enough to be like, I want this so badly. I don't want this at all.
And that could have ended badly, Farah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because imagine you got triggered and
Yeah.
said, why are you crying? You should be grateful. Because
For
some people
real.
could react in that way to be like,
Yeah.
They could.
you know what situation I'm in, and you're
Yeah,
crying to me because you are pregnant. Like, do you know what I mean?
Of course they could. That is so
it
common.
could really
So common.
affect friendships, man.
Right? So
Yeah.
much. And that's why people that are on the outside, sometimes they are really I know we were saying society is like really horrid sometimes in the comments and da-da-da-da, but there's also really genuine, loving people in your family and your friends and stuff who are just scared. They don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to do the wrong thing. They just genuinely don't know what's acceptable, appropriate, what triggers you, what doesn't trigger you. They don't know. They're on eggshells all the time, bless them. So that's why you have to almost, when they know what is acceptable and not acceptable, because you're Farah and you don't shut up about it, it makes it so easy for them as well, if that makes sense. It doesn't mean they don't have hard days. It doesn't mean you don't have hard days. But that's why I really do believe in the power of talking about these things and letting people in and trusting that people will be there for you and that you will be there for them, even when you're having completely opposite experiences of motherhood and journey. So yeah,
This is so refreshing to hear, Farah, because I've always been the type to hold things in when I go through things.
Yeah.
And then later on, I'm kicking myself as to why, like, I'm not
Why
getting
am I suffering alone?
Why am I suffering alone? And I'm like, why can't I get the support
why they're
I
not
need?
reading my mind? They know.
But they can't read minds.
They can. You have to almost we have to make supporting each other as easy as possible for each other.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because the way you can show up for me and the way I can show up for you or whatever is very different. So if we're just really open about what we need from each other, it just makes a whole experience of life easier, right? And that's what I did. And that's why I've had the most incredible people supporting us. Even, again, with the adoption, you need so much support with, like, the adoption process and all of that stuff. And we have like, the most incredible people fighting our corner.
About that. So
Listen,
you
the adoption, I'm very...
That's a whole topic in itself.
It's
a whole...
like the UK adoption.
A UK adoption.
How is the adoption system in the UK?
How
I
is
know
it like?
the rest of our systems are not very good. NHS is not very good. Education system is not very good.
Everything feels like it's failing.
Yeah. Police and crime is not very good.
Not very good.
It's not very good.
Yeah. Do you know what? So I saw the episode where you had a social worker on, and I
Yes!
found that so
Shout out to Sirad!
because I love social workers, but I completely understood what you guys were saying, and from the other side, I'm like, they're the best. What's the community on about? But that's easy to say because you got the kids. So of course, when it's the people whose kids have been taken away, then of course it's the other side. I'm on the other. I'm not taking them.
She's on the other
side.
I'm
pro it. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But yeah. So okay. So we'll talk about the adoption. So first and foremost, can I start with maybe just talking about adoption in Islam?
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of Muslim audience that's listening, and straight away, this conjures up again like all this confusion and questions about adoption's haram. What do you mean adopted?
How can adoption be haram?
Oh no, that's what
No,
people
but
generally
surrogacy
think.
is haram.
Oh yeah, surrogacy is
But
haram.
adoption cannot be haram as long as you
they
don't
say
remove their name, and as long as they have ties to their, like, they know where they're from. You didn't change their name. You didn't give them your name. You didn't take ownership over them.
I've heard another thing of,
that's
like...
in a nutshell. I don't understand how complicated it is. I don't understand how
That's
people
not
think it's so
complicated
complicated.
at all, innit?
It's not complicated at all.
You let them be them, and you don't take away their name.
That's it.
No, but I've heard other things where it's like, okay, a couple, if they adopt a little girl, for example, by a certain age, she has to cover in front of her dad.
So
because that's not his biological kid.
I hear you. So with adoption in Islam, but the thing is that still doesn't make it haram though.
Okay.
Whereas if we're saying, because that's what people say, is how people adopting, how Muslims adopted is haram. No, not even them haram. They're not talking about the details. They're saying adoption per se is haram.
It can't be.
It can't be, and it's not. And it's actually one of the oldest, most common traditions in Islam.
Wow.
The Prophet had an adopted son.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All of the madhabs, you know, people say Hanafi and this and that.
Yeah.
All those madhabs, all 5 of them, I think, or 4 of them, whatever it is, all either been adopted or had adopted
Wow.
children. Like, it's completely ingrained in the history of Islam. But people don't understand it today, and especially in Western side, they don't
Yeah.
understand what this kind of adoption is, right? So you are so right. There are 3 things to consider in terms of navigating like having an adopted family or adoption in your family. One is the name. You said it straight away. That's a big one that people talk about. Secondly is the mahram issues, and thirdly is inheritance. They're the 3
yes.
things to think about. So with the mahram issue, I would say if you're a Muslim who's wanting to adopt a child under 2, you can take medication and you breastfeed them.
Wow.
Simple.
Not
simple,
As soon
it's
as you
hard.
breastfeed, they become basically
They like you gave birth.
biological.
The same people that would have been the mahram, so like your brother and they're all, that's it. Once you breastfeed, because a suckle mother is the same as a mother in Islam.
Yeah.
So, and people don't understand that you can actually just take some medication, get a pump some milk,
I actually
and give it
didn't
to
know
your baby.
this, you know.
Isn't it?
I didn't know you could actually just start breastfeeding.
I didn't know that either.
You can breastfeed when you've never given birth.
That's I didn't know
Never
that.
given birth. From some medication that you can just get over the counter from your GP, abroad, wherever you want to do it. So and the reason why I say 2 is for the majority of opinion in terms of Islam, what I've heard is it has to be under 2. Yeah. Some say 3. There's difference of opinion always, but generally under 2.
Wow.
So
How hard is that to get a baby under 2 in the UK?
supposedly hard, but it's not hard. There's so many children
I
under
was
2.
going to say, how many children?
So many
How
children.
many people
need
are
of
giving?
homes.
Yeah, how many people are giving birth a day? You know?
So many children under 2. So what? And yeah. So that's what you do with that. And sometimes you can even have, let's just say it didn't work for you. You can have family members breastfeed. So for example, your sister breastfeed, or do you know what I mean? Like or your husband's sister breastfeeds. Or there's ways to get around it. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
For the mahram issue, the inheritance is again really simple, because again inheritance. I don't know about you guys, but even the chapter that talks about inheritance in the Quran always confuses me. However, I can see that it says there's like a certain % of your inheritance that you can put aside for anything. So it'll say like after debt, after this, after that, your mom gets this, your dad gets that. But then it'll say like 2.5% or whatever. I can't remember. I think I'm talking about. I can't remember the exact figure, but I know there's an amount of your inheritance that you choose who you give it to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so set that up for your adopted children. It's not that hard.
It's
Set
not
them
hard
up
at
while you're
all.
alive. Like, there's so much, write it in your will. There's so many ways to get around it. It's not that difficult. And thirdly, the name, is very true. We do not erase their lineage. You don't
Yes.
erase where they've come from biologically. But, so you can just keep their name, because Islamically, as Muslim women, for example, we don't take our husband's names.
No, we
So this
don't.
Western idea
Yeah,
of the whole
yeah.
family having the same surname
It's crazy.
is very Western anyway. It's not
Yeah.
us to a
We
certain
don't
extent
do that.
anyway, right? We don't do
Yeah,
that.
we don't do that.
So if your child obviously has a surname, keep their surname. I don't think it matters that much.
Can you change their first name?
You can change their first name. Guidelines are kind of against it, but you can. So I've changed my daughter's name, but not my son's. And I'll explain why later. So yeah, you can change that. But yeah, so you keep their surname. It's really important. However, there's something called, I could be pronouncing it wrong. Somebody can tell us in the comments. I don't know. But I think it's called nisba. Nisba. So in Islam, there's something called nisba, which is basically a longing, like belonging to somebody or being connected to somebody.
Yeah.
So you can add your husband's name, for example, to the child's name as a nisba. So it doesn't mean you take away their original surname.
Like a double barrel.
Like a double barrel,
Oh,
like a middle
okay.
name. You can make their original surname like a middle name if you want.
Oh, wow.
And add, so that's what we've done. So my kids,
sick.
my kids have their original surname as well as my husband's surname.
Wow.
And that's allowed in Islam. As long as you are not erasing where they're from, their name, and you are not claiming that they're your biological children. So again, like everything else, there's a lot of secrecy around adoption.
Yeah. Oh my God, how many Somali families where like they've grown up with like a cousin or like somebody who their parents have adopted, and they think that's their sister or brother.
Yeah.
And they can be like 25 before they remember, like they find out that like this is actually not your sister.
That's it. That's
That's
it. There's
so
so
mad.
much. I know people who are adopting again because when you talk freely, people feel very free to share with you. So people reach out to me all the time, telling me they're adopting and blah blah blah. Some who have not told their families. I know some that's not told their spouse. Yeah.
How
But
do you manage that?
They went back home and they go back home and they get children from orphanages, which is so sad. And a lot of people claim that they've had a child and they've not had a child. All they've done is take a child that they don't know where that child's come from. They don't know the circumstances that the child came from. You don't know if it's been ripped away from their mother. You don't know their medical history. You are living a lie for this child and for yourself. The psychological toll of that if they find out. And if they don't find out, again, it's haram. You've made a haram now because there's so much secrecy. There's a mahram issue and all these things to deal with that you've not addressed. Like you've made something that could be so beautiful and so easy to navigate so confusing and so scary because you wanted to hide the fact that you're adopted.
And now you're imprisoned by your life for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Right.
But
I couldn't sleep. I couldn't look at my child in the eye.
My question is if, for example, you found this child at an orphanage, they didn't have a name, they didn't have a surname, we don't know where they came from, could you just name them?
I guess so. I guess that's what you have to do.
Right.
Or whatever name they've maybe give them at the orphanage.
What if they didn't have a name at all?
At all.
Like, they don't have a surname. This child could have just been born, like, in a
where they
tree
leave them somewhere, yeah.
and then got left outside outside of a masjid.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it happens. Exactly. You are then, it's just very scary and it's just not a route that I'd ever want to go down. I think you just have to own and be open and try and do things as halal and as legal as possible, you know? So yeah, that's all you need to think about is just be really open. Like our kids will always know they're adopted and be proud of that and be proud of that identity. Already my son turns 3 next week, inshallah. And there's a book that I read to them all the time, which I really recommend. It's called The Blanket Bears and it's about the adoption journey. Already, even at this age, because I've been reading it to him for a year and a half now. And I feel like he already, because I always say that's you and so, like him and his sister. And just in terms of just who the 2 little teddy bears are. And already I can see this a little bit of recognition maybe in the story, or like he sees himself, even if he doesn't know why yet, if that makes sense. So as he gets older, I want to build on that, and I want him just to be so, and her, I want them both to be so proud of where they've come from, how they got here, who they are, how loved they are, how wanted they are, all of those things.
And that's so much better than growing up on a lie, because I've seen so many people talking about how much they love and adore their adopted parents,
of
saying
course.
They chose me.
Of course.
That's even better.
Of course.
Right?
I always say that.
They chose me,
yeah,
they wanted me, they loved me, they accepted me.
That's it.
So it makes it even better when you're
so
honest.
Right? How many movies did we see when we was growing up where somebody finds out they're adopted and they're like running away and they're like, oh, you know, you lied to me. And it's like, none of that drama. To be fair, back in the day, adoption was secret, even in this country. So people didn't know where they were from. They weren't supposed to have any names. They weren't supposed to have any contacts with family. It was so like very secretive. So there's a lot of people who you meet, like English people, Irish people, people like that, who are like 50, 60, stuff like that. They found out, they found out, or maybe when they were 20 or this or that. And also they find it really hard to trace any biological family because those things weren't kept and cared about back in the day. It was a completely different approach. Whereas now it's really different. They want you to tell them from a young age. And I really agree with that approach.
So in terms of like, obviously I don't know, we haven't really like got into like the adopting.
Yeah.
But like, do you adopt based on like ethnicity? Do you adopt based on like, for example, I know some people may want to adopt a Somali kid so that the Somali kid can like blend in with the family. But like, is it just like you get to pick, or is it whoever comes next and then you take that baby?
That's a really good question. It's up to you.
Okay.
So in terms, we'll talk about the whole process in a minute because it is very, there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
But in terms of matching, they call it matching, matching parents with children. They prefer, again, things have moved along so much. They prefer to match children with people and communities that look like them, that have their background, that have their faith.
That makes sense to me.
So much
That's
sense.
so
That makes sense
So
to me.
much
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Oh,
Again, those things weren't honoured before, I think, for a lot of people.
wow.
Now it's really different. And that's why I always say, please, we need more Muslim adopters. Stop being so afraid and like adopt, because we need Muslim adopters. Like the system's desperate for Muslim adopters.
Really?
And they do campaigns and all of these
I
things.
want
And
one,
honestly,
but I
get
don't have
one.
a spare bedroom.
Yeah, see, you're so smart. You already know. Like a lot of people don't know that
They will
the
always
criteria.
do that. They
yeah,
always do that.
it's weird, isn't
Even
it?
with
I hate
fostering,
that
like
one.
you can't. Even if I say me and my daughter, my biological daughter, will have
Share
our room, and then they can have her room.
every
they're
child
like,
has to
"No,
have their own
every
room.
yeah. So I think you have to be like as well in a position to be able to like finance
Yeah.
being an adoptive parent.
Oh, for sure.